Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right, man. Let's do this.
Well, thank you for joining, man, and thank you for having me at WeFunder.
Yeah, thanks, dude. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. So you've done your time at WeFunder, obviously. And that meant you had to help a lot of startups. You've seen a lot of startups in different stages. What's something you think is missing in entrepreneurship today?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think a lot of it is, I think people are just building to build. I think that's and what I mean by that is you'll see we used to do a lot of events at WeFunder where I would be talking to a lot of people, a lot of young entrepreneurs, and they would come up to you and be like, hey, I'm building this AI startup that's huge market. Can you tell me if it's a good idea or not? Or can you connect me with someone else who can help me? And what I realized was there's so much noise in this space. So people are just building without any customer validation. Is the biggest thing, right? One of the biggest things that I've told people is you should probably talk to 100 customers before you even start building a product to understand what exactly is the pain point and build your product exactly around their pain point.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people don't really do as much anymore. And I think that's missing in entrepreneurship is the connection between you and the customer pain point as a product owner.
Two questions there. First thing, if they're not building to solve a problem per se, that's not the main goal, what do you think is usually the goal of a lot of entrepreneurs?
I think there's a caveat, right? There's the really, really solid entrepreneurs that they fully understand what they're building and why they're doing it. But the vast majority, I think they're just building to get rich quick, right? Yeah. That's the whole idea. And it's hey, this is a passion project. I can build in Cursor within seconds or minutes, and I'm just going to push it out and see what happens. But they keep pushing it. It's a common issue with devs too, right? If you give devs too many agency, they'll just build a bunch of stuff that might not actually be needed, right? They might be cool products, but no customer actually asks for it, if that makes sense.
You mentioned finding the pain point of the customer. I might be delving a little, I might be taking a detour here, but there's a lot of products that actually don't solve problems for customers, but just delight them. I'm thinking of Liquid Death, right? Mm-hmm. Or things like this that are almost just cool. They're nice to have that somehow exploded. What do you think of those sorts of products?
Yeah. Well, with Liquid Death, actually, so I grew up in Utah, where a lot of people don't drink alcohol. I think it actually solves a pretty big pain point. And the reason I say that is because you see a lot of Mormons or LDS people, because they don't drink, they are at these social parties or events, and everyone is holding something in their hands, right? And it's very unusual to be holding a glass of water, but also just holding a bottle of water, those Kirkland bottles, right? It looks borderline unprofessional in just the way it is. And so it's these people holding a canned drink that actually looks alcoholic in a way. Is this placebo effect that they're actually drinking in a way. It makes it feel more comfortable. And I think that's the main pain point they're targeting is people that don't want to drink but still want to fit in and have something in their hand. But you're right to your point that it's a nice to have. But I think a nice to have can also solve a customer pain point in a way.
That's interesting. So in that sense, you can still validate a nice to have, and in the same way you're talking about.
Yeah, and I do think a nice to have is not as big of a market as a problem.
Yeah.
Right. But paired together, that's a huge market.
Right. I think for a nice to have, you have to rely on virality or marketing, convincing people that this is so interesting that that a person would be willing to buy it to the same extent that they would be willing to buy something that solves a problem in their life. Because obviously it's far better, or we're far more motivated to get rid of aches and pains than we are to say, have an interesting cocktail. Right?
Yeah.
So
one interesting point is Lovable just raised a big round, right?
Yeah.
And so they, I think, have found the best combination of a nice to have and also an actual problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I want to build an app or a website, yeah, I can go build it out myself, but it's nice to have an AI tool that can help build it within minutes.
Right. Yeah.
It's essentially solving a problem.
That's a good point. That actually, it's almost to the point where I think some products like these, this is kind of a tangent, but just thinking about AI in general, I think going back to your original point where it's building to just build, I feel like people use AI, think about it, and then reverse engineer, find the problems. I'll say, okay, here's a really cool tool. What are some problems we can solve? Rather than saying, this is a real problem. We validated it. Can AI help solve that problem? And so that's been really interesting. Almost everybody I talk to, it's AI. Can we apply this to architecture? Can we apply this to housing? And I think you can solve problems that way, but eventually at scale, you're going to start not really solving real problems and just pretending to solve things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that. One interesting case point is like now I'm working at GigML and we're building like end-to-end voice AI agents for like customer support, right? It's kind of the like idea of like everyone in YC right now is, if you look at like the recent YC batch, I think like 40% of them are building AI agents.
Yeah. Oh.
And all for like different customer segmentations, right? Like some are building for like logistics, some are building for like Medicare or like healthcare, whatever. And I think that's like, to your point, exactly what's happening. It's like people have discovered this AI agent tool and applying it to every single industry or pain point that there is. But at some point, it's not going to be scalable, right?
Yeah.
It's like either there's going to be like a couple AI agents that the models are fast. They're like, depending on how the models are built, they'll be fast enough that they'll overtake like all the market share in a way. And then these all like small, these like really, really small competitors are just going to get eat up basically, or ate up.
Yeah. Actually, you want to talk about what you're excited for at GigaML?
Yeah. So what I'm really excited about is that we're a 10 employee team right now that just secured like a Series A.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's going to come out in like 2-3 weeks, but it's one of the biggest Series A's in YC history.
Oh, wow.
And so it's one of these times where like we're basically building like we're building on open source LLMs, right? So we're using like Claude, we're using GPT or Gemini, and we kind of like switch it out based on like which one has like the best latency and stuff like that. And the thing that's most exciting is like the customers we're serving are like these Fortune 500 companies, right? Like think like the Walmarts or like the Costco's, Coinbases of the world, right? The ones that have like a lot of like volume in terms of calls. And so one of these contracts that we can get is like going to be multi-million-dollar year contracts for like 10 to 20 to 30 million dollars, right? Mm-hmm. And so you close a couple of those, you're going to hit 100 million ARR very, very quick, right? Yeah. And that's kind of what we're projecting over the year. So it's like by the end of the year, if we hit 100 million ARR with like 30 employees, that's what's really exciting to me.
And you recently just joined. So what's the transition been like from WeFunder to Giga?
Yeah. So my role at WeFunder, I was like basically the head of partnerships. And so a lot of what I did was throwing events for people, coaching founders on how to raise capital from like their communities and like other investors, running our like venture partner program, and then doing all of our like external partnerships with like banking partners and stuff. So I did a little bit of everything. I guess you could call me like in a way like a little bit of a fixer. And I think being a fixer is one of the most like rewarding jobs, but also the most draining jobs at a company, because you're kind of like the middle point between the CEO and like everyone else, but you're also, you have a lot expected of you, but your work isn't really shiny. So that's kind of the part where I moved into GigML, where WeFunder itself wasn't, crowdfunding is a very like, not like stagnant industry, but it's like not growing as fast as it should. Mm-hmm. It's very dependent on government regulation. And if government regulation comes out tomorrow, like, hey, a company on WeFunder can raise $10 million instead of $5 million, which is the cap right now, WeFunder's revenue will like double next year. Yeah. And so that was kind of like the thing is like, I don't want to be a company where like the regulation is determining the growth of the company. And then that's when I hopped to GigML this past, like it's been like literally 6 days. Right. And it's like, now I'm like one of the first operators of the company. And my job, what I view it myself as like an operator, is to develop processes to make the company efficient and take ownership over like certain things, hire my replacement, and then go on to the next thing. Right. So one of the first things I've tackled right now is I own the entire hiring process right now. So we're trying to hire like 10 engineers in the next like 2 months, which is very ambitious. So what I've done is like streamline all these processes. I'm hiring like recruiters right now, and I'm developing like SOPs, what is our best recruiting strategies, figuring out like top of funnel, like what tools are we using, stuff like that. And hopefully make enough of a robust system to just hand off to a recruiter. And then after that, move on to the next thing, which will be like our Series A announcement or working on like go-to-market and stuff like that.
What's the story behind Plunge Party?
Plunge Party. Well, so I actually moved to San Francisco in January for WeFunder from Venture. And I truthfully didn't know anyone. I had like one best friend from college here. And my first month, WeFunder is a very social culture, very young. So I was hanging out with a lot of work people, but I wanted a little bit more like, not like separation, but like I wanted different perspectives and not just have to talk about work all the time. And so part of my job was like doing partnerships and things like that. And so I had seen Plunge Party, which is like this social wellness club that my friend Jared started. It's basically like where the whole idea is like for people to get out of their comfort zone. Jared built this community when he moved to San Francisco from San Diego, and he was like, I had no friends. I wanted to do cold plunging because cold plunging is what not a lot of like people will do cold plunges. Yeah. And I think it takes a certain type of person to do that. And so he built this community over like the last he started this in like September, October. Or no, a little bit earlier, like August or July. And he's built this community over like the last like year, right? Mm-hmm. So in February, I actually just scrolling on Instagram and I saw Plunge Party. And they used to do it like in the marina at the time. I think they had like 60 or 70 people that would come up for like paid tickets and whatnot. And there's like vendors and there's like saunas and everything. And I DM'd him and I was like, hey, I have this beautiful spot at our backyard in WeFunder. Would love to just like have you guys over for free. Like this is something that I think would resemble with like our culture as well. And so Jared came in for our first Plunge Party like in April, and we became best friends, and the rest of the members like Gargi and Devin are also part of the team. And so I started pulling in like WeFunder brands that raised on WeFunder, like Philosopher Foods or like these like nut or like drink brands, and there'd be like sponsors, and then it like turned into like this huge wellness club that we would do it basically every other 2 weeks in the backyard. And so it was really, really fun. We actually did our last one this Sunday, just because, and you were there, you saw like firsthand what it was like, just because like I moved on from WeFunder, and also like Jared's building a startup. But I think we'll probably do pop-ups here and there, but it's one of those things where we grew it to like the last one had 170 people there. Yeah. And so it's something that like I think defined my time in San Francisco for like the first like 6 months of being here. But yeah.
Yeah, I will say it was probably the coolest thing I've still done in my time here. It's very San Francisco-esque in all the positive ways possible.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. What was your favorite part about it?
I loved the sauna for one. That was probably the best sauna I've ever done. But cold plunging with a random person and hearing him tell you about their startup idea as you're both like dying and going in together, and we get out and we just like fist bump. Like there's a way that suffering together brings people together. You know? Yeah. So I enjoyed that part a lot.
I'm glad. Yeah, this is like what we like to hear. This is like the whole point. I've heard I've like made some of my best friends outside of Plunge Party as well, and during Plunge Party. But it's like we hear these stories very often where it's like, hey, I met a guy in the plunge and now we're hanging out next week. Right. It's like that's what it's all about, and there's like no alcohol or anything like that. So it's like actual genuine connections you're making.
Yeah, and you can't get that at a casual hangout. I was actually at a hangout for something earlier, and you're walking and you're talking, you're probably going to forget the other person, but there's something about, like I said earlier, just being in a situation that makes you both feel uncomfortable together, and you're like, okay, we're just going to make this work. Yeah. Like there's something about that.
It's like, yeah, bonding through suffering to some extent, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
I was in a fraternity in college, and a lot of like the pledging process is like a lot of like hazing and things like that, right? Yeah. So it's like it's the same mentality of like you suffer together with your pledge brothers, you're closer. Obviously not to that extent, but like I do think like some type of like working through the trenches is what really builds like friendships and character.
Yeah, and I think there's less spaces for that now, increasingly. Like less, I guess they call them third spaces, right? Mm-hmm. That was the Starbucks model. You want a place where people could hang and meet. Obviously, that's not Starbucks at all. Yeah. And there's less and less spaces for you to just get to know people randomly. And so that's super cool that you guys did.
Yeah, I think I mean, hopefully we'll bring you back in a couple months with like sporadically, or someone will take it over. But yeah, maybe on to the next thing. I don't know. Maybe it's like a rock climbing social club or sick, yeah. I don't know. I think San Francisco needs a lot more of those.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
This is kind of related to the angle of the whole podcast in general, which is like how humans and AI grow together. What's something that you're afraid of about AI in terms of how it affects social dynamics?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Well, actually, one of the things that's really interesting is like a friend of a friend actually started this company called Sitch, which you maybe heard of. It's like an AI matchmaking company.
Okay.
Yeah, they just raised like a seed round, but
like a dating app?
It's a dating app. Okay. Yeah. And what they do, it started by this girl who goes by Dini. It's like an AI matchmaker. Dini comes from like a family of like matchmakers herself, and she like is like known for like connecting people, and like it like turns into a successful marriage.
Oh, okay.
And she wanted to replicate the same success with her app. And I think it's interesting, right? It's like, can AI fundamentally understand the connections that you're looking for or like the people that you want to meet. I think that maybe it could at some point, but it's scary, right? It's like if AI takes over all of our like ability to like, how do I say this? Our ability to connect with people, like going to an in-person event, I think that's what is terrifying to me. Like, think about this, like people these days, or back in like the 90s or like the 2000s, like my parents, they didn't have any like social media, they didn't have any like AI or anything like that, right? They're going to actual bars, they're actually going to like events like this and they're talking to people. What I've seen very, very differently now is like you have all these dating apps, like with the algorithm is like technically AI or machine learning or whatever you want to call it. And it's like you're losing that human connection. That's like one thing that's very, very scary to me. And it's like, I truthfully, this is like kind of where I think there's going to be like how do I say this? There's going to be a bigger market for like in-person meetups. So we're doing so WeFunder, one of the last things I was doing there was a partnership with Andrew Young, right? And Andrew Young is like known for like doing a bunch of like tech community events. And he likes bringing really, really interesting people together, like founders, investors, whatever. And so we're doing an event here where we're doing at this, so with a WeFunder mansion, it's like a 20-person curated event. There's 3 events a day for 2 days. And the whole idea is like, how do you actually get to know people? And one of the events is actually going to be probably with dinner with strangers, or We're Not Really Strangers, if you've heard of the card game. And so that's like, I think there's going to be people are going to crave more in-person connections like that over like these dating apps or anything like that. Hopefully that answers your question. I know that's like a really long-winded answer.
No, it definitely does. It's so interesting because I think we both met at an Andrew Young event, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you think of these events and you think, oh, it's corny, I'm not going to meet anybody. But, I mean, Andrew Young has mastered the art of what I think is social buy-in. Everybody wants to be there and they're engaged. We've all tried throwing an event or a party or something where the turnout's low and the people who show up aren't really there for it, or made a company maybe or something like that. To get people to buy into some event and to socialize like that is so important. And like you're saying, the market's getting bigger. And so, I mean, you've done a successful job with that at the Plunge Parties and such. How do you do that?
Like you're saying, just like how do we do it at Plunge Party?
Or how do you get like people to buy into it?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like, dude, a lot of the work went on the back end of just like talking to people one-on-one. Yeah. Right. Like this goes like marketing events, right? I was probably hosting like, about 2 to 3 events a week at my time at WeFunder. And they're the events that like are massive parties where anyone can show up, but the value add for these people is very limited, right? It's like you come and drink alcohol, maybe socialize for a little bit, but you're actually probably not connecting with people. Yeah. What I realized, like the smaller events where people actually have to like commit in a way, like either buying a ticket or like RSVPing or like we're invited personally, there's a lot more buy-in, right? So with Plunge Party, the idea was like, hey, if you're paying for a ticket, you're paying for like an experience, right? And our job was to provide as much of an experience that we possibly could for you that is worth your time, right? And so then automatically you have this buy-in, right? And so that comes in through like social media of like, what does this look like? Like, what are all the vendors? Are people having fun? Highlight stories of people meeting other people. I think that's like how we really, really got buy-in. And then a lot of it was like, dude, we would be putting up flyers and like, we'd go up to like Polk Street and Union Street where we would just talk to people and be like, hey, this is what we're doing. Really? Yeah. And this is like a lot of guerrilla marketing. Yeah. And it worked. Like we would get so many people that just didn't know about it, but they were interested because someone was personally asking them to come. Yeah. And I think like that, this goes back to AI in a way and also like the internet automation. Like you're familiar with Luma, right? Yeah. If I send a Luma invite to someone, the chances of them coming are like 50-50, right? They might say yes, but do they actually have buy-in? Probably not. The small difference of like, if I send them a text or like a thoughtful email, like, hey, Andrew, I really want you to come to this event. There's going to be the so-and-so who I think that you should really meet. Yeah. We'd love to see you here. That's going to get them, they're going to feel more valued, more excited about it. And they probably feel like every person wants to feel valued. And I think doing that is how you really get buy-in for people. Yeah, I actually do remember during our time at Luma House. I think it was the Luma House, actually. Yeah, it was the Luma House, yeah. You literally personally invited me and somebody else to the Plunge Party. And that was how I
follow the Instagram and was like, okay, I got to come to this at some point. And it did. So it is definitely the personal invite that beats the Luma.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you can imagine like the wording if it was like, hey, go check out Plunge Party, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe you would have checked it out, maybe you wouldn't have. But the key wording change of like, hey, I really want you to come to Plunge Party. This is what I'm building. I think you enjoy it. That the verbiage changes a lot, right?
Right.
And not to say that it's not like fake or anything. I genuinely want people to come, right? So it's like the small differences can affect the buy-in so much. It's insane.
Right. Yeah. What are you excited about when it comes to AI and social interactions?
Yeah. What I'm truly excited about is if AI can figure out how to give personalized invitations, right? Like, let's say this is actually something really interesting that a lot of people, like a lot of high-level executives will do, is that they'll have their assistants basically manage their entire CRM. So it's like their entire database of connections. It's like send happy birthday messages, send like personal message or like thoughtful emails whenever like they raise like a round or something like that, which is very transactional.
Yeah.
Now, if you find an AI, if AI gets advanced enough to fully understand the way you think and can basically accelerate that thought process, and let's say I can probably like max text 100 people a day before I lose my like mind about like I don't want to text this many people, but I do want to text them at some point like in the next couple of weeks. If AI can figure out like what exactly I am thinking in terms of like this is my communication style, these are the things I really care about. If it can turbocharge that and just mass outreach to people to keep my community built, that's what I'm really excited about. It is a little scary, right? That to some people it might come off as like, oh, this is transactional, but it's like I just don't think I have the mental bandwidth to communicate with that many people, even though I care so much about them.
Right.
And then you can make the counter argument that like, oh, if you really cared about someone, you would keep in touch. It's just like, dude, I mean, I'm working like 15 to 20 hour days. So it's like, it's tough to do that, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm really excited about AI, like kind of like an AI assistant in a way.
And I think Google is working on that as we speak. I think they demoed it for their email model. Essentially, you can get an email and then it will know your tone and will answer a question if it's like factual, like, hey, where do you want to meet at this cafe shop?
Yeah.
Right? So it will do that, which is super cool.
Yeah. That's what I'm super excited about. Like,
yeah.
I think obviously I think we're still like 1 to 2 years out before it truly gets there, because you have to do some training yourself of like, what exactly do I want? And I think truly AI probably will never get 100% of your tone because we have mood swings. I don't think AI can fully understand mood swings just because of how like robust that is. And if it does, maybe with AGI, well shoot, then we might like be screwed. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's like AI is accelerating so fast with like the last 2 years that I can't even imagine what 2027 will look like.
Sure. I mean, speaking of AGI, Ray Kurzweil predicts that we'll have AGI by 2029. So let's assume we're sitting here. We have the benefit of time. And what's like, I guess one thing you'd like people in that time to know about AI and the human experience?
Like as we know right now.
Yeah. So you have like the vantage point of being early, of still not having AGI yet, of advanced intelligence. So what's one thing, maybe a word of caution or optimism that you like to?
Yeah, I mean,
future generations.
I would say like for future generations, it's like, man, I just hope that people don't lose the work ethic, right? Like I think as a startup right now, I was actually talking to one of our founding engineers last night about like using Cursor.
Yeah.
He was like, if you want to succeed as a startup these days, you need to use Cursor to ship code fast enough, or you physically cannot. Like because we have at our company we have 3 founding engineers, and they're expected to do the work of like 5 engineers themselves, right? Each actually. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's like, because of that, we're all using AI to basically make ourselves the most productive versions of ourselves. And what I would be curious about is like, and we're a little worried about is like, are people going to be too reliant on AGI to do their entire jobs? Or is it just going to make it like, are you going to become like a super intelligent version of yourself where that you can kind of like, we might just see like the next 1-person company, right? Where the AGI can do basically everything. So I would be like, I would be really curious to see like if it makes us more productive, or like are humans going to get a little bit lazier in a way?
You mentioned 1-person company. I haven't even thought about that.
Yeah, I mean like there's, oh God, I think it was Cursor or Merkur or something like that, where 3 people built it out to like 100 million AR or something like that.
I think it's Cursor.
Is it Cursor?
Yeah.
It might be Cursor, yeah. And so it's like, dude, I really think that the 1-person, there's so many solo entrepreneurs right now in YC that are building this stuff. It's like, if you have like a multitude of AI agents doing like go to market, doing like all your engineering, hiring, all these things, it's like, dude, we're probably gonna see that in the next 2 years. Next year probably.
Sure.
Right? I don't know what it's gonna be. It could be like in like, I don't know, chip computing or something like that.
Yes.
We'll see.
What you haven't been here for many, I guess you've only been here for how long in San Francisco?
Like 8 months.
Yeah. So in that time, granted it's only 8 months, how much have you seen AI change the culture in the Bay Area?
Yeah, I mean, well, let me give you a little perspective. So in Utah, actually, I had like a little bit of imposter syndrome because everyone in the Bay moves super fast, right? Like AI, we're like at the cutting edge of AI. Like if you read Twitter here, there's like new products being developed every single day. In Utah or Salt Lake City, it's like, dude, people don't even know what half these AI tools are. People are probably still using like ChatGPT, which is like normal, but like no one knows Cursor. No one's using any of these like AI BDR tools or any of these like I don't even, people don't even know about like Clay or like stuff like that, which is crazy.
I feel the same way in San Antonio.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? It's like, I think the AI wave will like slowly catch up to them. So it's like, before I get to your question, what I think is actually really interesting is that for any entrepreneurs in the future, or like right now, you can literally build the exact same product in San Francisco that you like let's say like an AI agent, take it to some like Midwest city and just implement it as a consulting service. That's like $100 million company right there. Wow. Because like, let's say I want to do like an AI agent for like sales, where it's like you're automating all your outreach, right? Some person who's like has like let's say a farm, or like a better use case would be like someone who like manufactures his mics.
Sure.
Right? He probably is like he's probably just getting like sales from like inbound, maybe doing a little bit of like email marketing, whatever. If I go consult him and say, hey, I'm going to build an AI agent for you that will basically use like all these softwares to outreach to 1,000 leads every day, like to people like you, to buy this podcast material, dude, that's a lot of money right there.
Yeah.
And you can do that for like multiple states, multiple cities, multiple types of companies, right? It just, because we're moving so fast here, people have already like thought about it.
Interesting.
Right? Anyways, to your initial question about like, sorry, I forget. What was the initial question about like?
Well, what is one piece of advice you'd give? Not advice, but what is one thing you'd like future generations to know once we do have AGI and past AGI?
Yeah. I mean,
you said the work ethic.
The work ethic.
Right.
Yeah. It's mainly the work ethic. And also like, I just hope that people don't lose like the personal connections that people make. Right. Like going to events like this and just not relying on AI to make their connections for them.
Sure. So you're doing ops like Giga ML. Yeah. What makes for a good culture, and how do you make it?
Yeah. So this is actually really interesting. Like a little insight to Giga ML. Before I started, like there's like 9 employees. I was the second ops hire. Like no team lunches, no team dinners. Just like everyone was just building like 12 hours a day. I think in order to build a really good culture, I think WeFunder actually did a pretty phenomenal job about that. Where people, it was like lax in a way, but there's a lot of agency and a lot of trust around what you're doing. Now, people should have probably like worked a little bit more hours at WeFunder just if we wanted to be a high growth startup. So what I'm doing at Giga is like basically we're looking for people that like work their like asses off basically, right? But what we want is there needs to be like some agency over like, hey, if I need to step out for an hour or 2 hours, I'll get my shit done, right? And you build that through trust, but also it's through like policies of like, hey, we don't want you to get burned out, take more days off. Like team lunches go into that, team dinners go into that. The more you take care of your employees, the more likely they have more buy-in in the company, and they're more likely to trust you. Another thing is like hiring is like the biggest thing. Hiring right now is like my first screening call that I do with every single person at the company or before the person joins the company is I'm screening for whether or not they're going to invest in the culture and also stay around if things get rough. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are like, oh, I think you'll give me good work-life balance and all these things. And at a startup, I mean, realistically, you don't have work-life balance if you're truly in a high-growth startup. But what you do have is like the agency to like take time off or do things that you need to do while also building the company. And then after time, things will change. So long story short, to build like a really strong culture, I really think that you just need to trust people and not micromanage, which I think a lot of startups struggle with.
Gotcha. And just to kind of like my last question, what is one piece of advice you like to give to a young person today?
Yeah.
Not to say that you're not young, obviously.
No, yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out myself, right?
Yeah.
So okay, let me like be very, very frank about this. I don't think I'm like the smartest person in the world at all. Like, I think I'm like actually one of the dumbest people. And I think I say that for a couple of reasons. A, like, people get better grades than me. They're like sharper. Like, people are just geniuses. What I think I outshine is like, I'm just willing to learn. And one of the things that I did, not to say like people should blindly follow this, but like my first day at Giga, I was like so under the water. I was like, what am I doing? Like, I was supposed to be managing so many different things. I don't even know what the hell to do. I texted a couple of colleagues of like, hey, I want to talk to like operators at early stage startups that have already done this, and I want to learn from them what's working, what's not. Because my biggest pain point was like, we can't hire for shit, so how can we fix this? I got a couple of interested people, and I started talking. I'm like, hey, what have you done so that I can implement this and learn? I think that is one thing that's so underrated, is like asking for advice from people. I have like tried to pay this forward where like if anyone asks me for advice, I would love to like tell them like, hey, this is what I did at WeFunder, or these are things that I've done that changed my life. And I'm like 90% sure that like any person that you reach out to, like obviously within reason, will be like, hey, like, yeah, these are some things that I would do in your shoes. So I would say like you always should ask for advice no matter what, and like actually implement it. And then the second thing is like, this is a very small thing that I've like trying to realize very quickly, is that whenever someone gives you an intro to someone and you talk to that person, let the person know when you make the intro, or after you talk with them, but like, hey, thank you for making the intro.
Yeah.
It's a really small gesture that I've like learned to appreciate a lot of, like when someone will text me like, hey, thank you for the intro, that actually changed the way I look at this. That the feedback loop is like what really keeps relationships going. And I think people just become transactional, like, thanks for the intro, whatever, and never talk about it.
Yeah.
It's a very, very small thing that I think people should emphasize.
Yeah. Kind of tangentially related. What do you think about networking? Like, there's different, I guess, ways people think about it. What are your general thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I actually hate networking. One of the biggest things with like WeFunder was I was getting burnt out of like having all these big networking events because you're talking to so many people, and ideally you're just going to like get something out of someone.
Yeah.
Ideally that's what it is. Like, you go to these conferences, you're literally trying to find a buyer, you're trying to find a sale there, whatever. What the biggest takeaway I have from networking now is like, I just go in with the idea that I want to learn from the other person and just ask them a ton of questions. I like play it like a game in a way of like, I just don't even want to talk about myself because I want to learn so much about them. And when you learn so much about them, if you actually listen to their conversation, you can iterate your questions live time based on things they say, and you'll learn, right? And let's say the conversation is boring or you're not finding anything interesting, feel free to just like cut it off. I'll be like, hey, like, I'm not chatting with you, like I want to, and then move over to the next person where you can actually learn something. I think it's like, I don't think it should be like a numbers game. I think it's more so like, hey, did you meet 2 or 3 people at this event that like actually provided value in your life in terms of learning, and can you help them? Right. One of the first things I do when I'm trying to network as well is like, I'll ask them a lot of questions, but I will immediately try to offer something for help, like whatever that is. Like, hey, like, and I think it's like extending the olive tree builds trust. Like, for example, it's like if I meet someone that's like building in, I don't know, like my roommate, for example, she's building like a hardware company. Whenever I meet someone who's like a hardware founder or like has like NASA or is working with NASA or like DoD contracts, I'm like, hey, like you should meet my roommate. Like, she can probably give you some insight on this, or she might know the right person to get you a contract or something like that.
Yeah.
Just so like you're naturally connecting people as a feedback loop, and you're actually helping people. And that, and down the road, these people will also help you, like naturally. I think that's the best way to do it.
I don't know why I thought of this question, but I feel like I need to ask you. But what do you want your legacy to be?
It's a good question. Honestly, like I've thought about this a lot.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah. Honestly, like I wanted to be a teacher growing up. Of like, I wanted to always like give back. I think my ideas kind of changed over like the last like couple months, just a couple years of like, my legacy is like, I want to be someone that people trust but also look up to. In terms of like, I want to be like, one of my biggest things is I want to be a really good dad at some point. I want my kids to look up to me and see me as a role model for like things I've done and like the way I've lived my life. And that's another thing of like, I want to be known as a person that can help people, and more so just like an ear and like someone that actually has everyone's best best motives in heart, right? Like I truly want to help everyone if I can without like breaking my own back, but like that's what I want to be known as. And I don't know, I think it comes a time, right? Like, you can't force yourself to do it, but if people come for me for help, I'll do anything in my power to like make sure I can try to help them.
Well, I think you're doing a good job laying your groundwork for that, and I really appreciate you spending some time to talk.
I appreciate that.
Awesome.
Yeah, all the time, dude.
Fire.
This is fun.